Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Amber. So we took a break last week. I didn't have any pre-filmed videos to upload and I ended up getting super sick the day of Christmas. And that lasted all the way pretty much up until like 2 days ago. And I'm finally feeling good enough to sit down and record today. I finally have my voice back. So, let's get into December wrap-up and January's TBR. So I'm just going to go in order of what I read in December. I read 9 books this month, and 7 of those were Kindle Unlimited books, with 2 of them being physical books. And one of those physical books was a reread. So starting off, it was Faking Christmas by Cindy Steele. I loved this book so much. I'm still currently thinking about this book. I'm not going to go too in-depth in like my review of this because I did do a reading vlog of reading holiday romances for a week. And so I did talk a lot about this book in that one. So this one is our female main character is going to a cabin with her family for Christmas, and she finds out last minute that her mom has invited like their family friends, but the son is her ex, and he is super conceited, super full of himself, and her mom is trying to get them back together, but she doesn't want that. So she lies to her family and says that she's dating her coworker. The first name that pops into her mind is her coworker's name. Well, he is her work nemesis, and her sister has heard her complain about him before, so now they have to convince everybody. Oh, and while she's there, she runs into him. So now that he's there in person, they've agreed to fake date for Christmas, and now they have to convince everybody that they're a real couple. It was so good. So good. I loved the main male character, Miles. One of my favorites that I've read. I ate this book up. I could not get enough of it. It honestly ruined the rest of my holiday romance books that I read. I typically don't rate holiday romances that high. They're not particularly my favorite, but I gave this one, I believe, a 4.25 star. Next up, we have Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh, another Kindle Unlimited. This one, I went into it with kind of high expectations because I had heard a lot of really good things about this book, which, because I started with Faking Christmas and I liked it so much, and I went into this one right afterwards, I liked the story, but I just could not really get into it. I had a really hard time finishing this book, but I kind of just like powered through it. And I don't know, I couldn't fully get into it. This one, you're following Molly and Andrew. They're both just trying to get home for the holidays. Molly isn't super into Christmas. Like, pretty much her whole family isn't. But Andrew is really into Christmas. So they end up sitting next to each other on their flight. And then we watch it progress. And we watch it progress through 10 years of them being like airplane buddies, basically. So they're not really friends outside of that. They kind of keep in touch a little bit between each Christmas, but then their flight home is like their way of catching up for the year, basically. And at first I enjoyed it. It kind of felt a little flat through the middle. I was getting kind of bored. My biggest thing with this is it does time jumps. So, like, you'll have the present time, and then it will jump back, like, 10 years prior, and then you'll go back to the present, and it just keeps progressing through there of, like, 10 years, 9 years, 8 years, 7 years. So you get all these random gaps, and even though the heading says, like, if it's present day or a past thing, this skipping for me was just a little too much to follow. I don't know. I guess with my thoughts on holiday romances, I kind of just want something that's like super cute, lighthearted, funny, and just super basic. Easy to follow along. I don't really need to put a lot of brain power behind it. And also their relationship progression. I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. The book overall is good. I would still recommend this to anybody who asked for holiday recommendations. It just didn't fully click for me. And I think for that reason, I'm pretty sure I gave this like a 3.5. So it was still good, just not my favorite. And it took a lot for me to get into it. Oh, I guess I should finish the synopsis. So, like, they're plane buddies, and that's their time of year to get back together and, like, catch up. And then this year, a huge snowstorm comes in, and their flight gets canceled. And so Molly does everything in her power to make sure that Andrew gets home for the holidays. Next, I read Elf by Ginger Kane. This is a holiday, like, erotic novella. This is also Kindle Unlimited. I have no words for this. I did not rate this book because it just was not for me. And in that reading vlog, I learned that erotic novellas just are not for me. So I didn't think it'd be fair to rate that because it's not really like, it was nothing on the book itself. It's just, that type of thing is just not for me. I need a plot. I can't just read straight 40 pages of smut. So for that reason, it did not get a rating. But this one is literally, I think, like 34 pages. It's super, extremely short. The point of this book is just this girl gets at work like a Secret Santa gift, but like nobody admits to them being the ones to put that in there. And it's an elf with a dildo. And then the elf comes to life. That's all I got for you. It was interesting. Next up, I finished my reread of A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I started this reread a long time ago. So don't think that I sat down and read this whole thing. Because I did not. I'm pretty sure, don't mind the fact that my son colored on the side. I'm pretty sure I only read like 120 pages of it, or 200 pages, maybe, max. It wasn't a ton. But, I mean, I love the series. This is like my 4th or 5th reread through this. I'm not really going to give like a full rating. I think I still rated it like 4.75 stars. I know initially I always rated that 5 stars. And I still love that one. I liked getting Nesta's point of view, but doing the reread, I definitely noticed like a couple areas where it just kind of feels boring. And I know it's not because of a reread, because A Court of Mist and Fury still gets 5 stars from me. I still am obsessed with that. Same with ACOWAR. Still obsessed with it. I think I just realized now that I like Nesta's character build that she got. I like her redemption, but there were definitely areas that could have been cut. Next up, I read Christmas on the 13th Floor by Lee Jackoy. This one, again, is another Christmas erotic novella on Kindle Unlimited. This one is about a girl who has a kind of just an asshole for a boss. Basically, they just don't get along, and she's pretty much just working there until she can get like her dream job. And then he thinks she's going to be going to another one, so he finally makes his move on their like work Christmas party day. Yeah, that's about it. Not a whole lot to this one either. A little bit more plot than the Elf, but again, I didn't rate this because it just doesn't feel fair to rate it. Again, just not my thing. Super short book. I think that one's a little bit longer, but again, I think it only took like an hour and a half to read it. Then we have A Very Krampus Holiday by Katie Robert. Again, it's about Krampus, and it's an erotic novella on Kindle Unlimited. Super short read again. I think it's only like a 45-minute read. I don't remember the pages on Kindle Unlimited, but again, I didn't rate it. I don't really remember what even happened in this book. There wasn't much. It was basically she like goes to the cabin for the holidays to be by herself. She's like always been on the naughty list or whatever. And then Krampus shows up. And that's it. It spirals from there, and there's just not much that happens. It was alright. Then we have Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is the final book in the Caraval trilogy. I was both excited to read this and sad that it was ending because I already read the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, so this was the end of that world for me. I loved this book. I gave this 4.75 stars. This one you get a mix. Again, I did explain this in another video, but I don't want to go too much in detail because it's the final book, so I'm going to be super brief about this. Basically, you're following throughout this series, you're following Scarlet, and she's going through Caraval, which is this, like, magical traveling carnival where if you beat the game, you, like, get a wish at the end of it. And everything that happens in Caraval is supposed to be just, like, this elaborate illusion. And so in the beginning, in, like, the first book, they say don't get too swept up in the game. This one you're following Scarlet still, but you're also following another main character who mainly shows up in the second book. Yeah, you have a lot going on in here. In this one, you're trying to figure out, is it in this one or is it in the second one that you find out Legend's identity? I don't remember if it's the beginning of this one or the end of the second one that you're, like, finding out Legend's identity, but you're mainly following them along their journey, trying to figure out more about him. You learn a lot about the Fates, like their backstory, and you get quite a bit of background into, like, how they were created in this one. So I think that's what made me really enjoy Caraval, is it definitely gives you more understanding for Once Upon a Broken Heart. So, like, I read that trilogy first before reading the Caraval trilogy, and to anyone who's questioning whether you should read this trilogy, I highly recommend it. I know there's mixed things on people liking this one. I loved this trilogy, so I definitely recommend it because you do get some insight. You get more backgrounds on people that you do follow in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and you just get more background on the Fates in general. It just helps you understand and kind of follow along a little bit easier on Once Upon a Broken Heart, and these do overlap just slightly. In this one, you overlap Once Upon a Broken Heart a tiny bit. And so I did kind of enjoy reading Once Upon a Broken Heart first and getting to see that in here, but I would recommend reading this first. If you haven't read Once Upon a Broken Heart yet, start with this trilogy. Again, 4.75 stars. I loved this. Then I read Snowden by Catherine Walsh, another holiday romance on Kindle Unlimited. This one I didn't know was set in, like, the same world as holiday romance. So I was like 50% of the way through this book when I finally put two and two together that the sibling in this one and his girlfriend are actually Molly and Andrew from the first one. So it was a nice surprise. I'm glad that I happened to read holiday romance first because I just didn't put two and two together, apparently. I didn't even look at it. This one you're following Megan, who in the beginning is getting ready to get married, and she ends up being a runaway bride. And so then it flashes forward a couple years and she's in Dublin. She runs into a guy she went to school with, Christian, and they end up agreeing to fake date over the holidays because she is scared to go back to her hometown just because she left on such a bad note with so many people, and he's just tired of his family thinking that he's unhappy and kind of giving him crap for that when he goes back. So they agree to fake date. They go back. You definitely have quite a bit of, like, confusion a little bit in the beginning before you get the understanding of, like, why she was a runaway bride. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun read. It was definitely, like, a funny, enjoyable, quick-paced book. And I loved Megan and Christian's banter. They had pretty good chemistry. The, like, whole fake dating thing worked for them with them being like, she's kind of like the social pariah where people are like, oh, I can't believe that you're dating her. And his thing is like, he wasn't really like a troubled kid growing up, but slightly. So they definitely do have to make it believable that they're actually dating. And people are questioning it, so you kind of have that on edge thing of like, is somebody gonna find out? But that one I really enjoyed. I think I gave that one also, I think I just gave that one a flat 4 stars. Because I really enjoyed it, but not quite as much as Faking Christmas. And again, like I said, I never really rate Christmas books, holiday books in general, super high. But that one I would highly recommend. I really enjoyed that one. And then finally, I read Sealed with a Vegas Kiss by Xandra James. This one is just a little novella on Kindle Unlimited. This one is a Navy SEAL ends up going to Vegas to stop his CO's sister, which the CO is also like his best friend, but to stop his best friend's sister from marrying someone. Again, super short read. It was okay. I didn't really give it a rating just because, again, it doesn't feel fair. Don't ask me why I read so many erotic novels. Even after realizing that I didn't really care for them, I still proceeded to read more. I don't know why, but I did. And none of them are getting a rating from me because it's just not fair if I do. I think if you like those kind of books, I think you'd like Sealed with a Vegas Kiss. It wasn't bad. It's just, again, I need more background on characters and I need more of a plot. Also, I'm confused on this one because this one's part of Operation Heartbreak. And this one says it's the first one. And at the end of it, it said that the next one was coming soon. But this book was wrote in 2016. So I don't know if there's going to be another one at all. I'm a little confused. Just know that going into it. But anyway, so that is it for my wrap up for December. So let's get into my TBR for January, which I've already finished 2 books, which I'm going to put that lightly because, like, I finished Ruthless Vows already, which I'll leave the ratings for later on, but I started that, I think it was the 29th. I started that December 29th, but because I was sick, it was just really hard for me to sit down and read. I couldn't really focus on words or anything. So it took me longer than I wanted to. I thought for sure I was going to finish that last month, but I didn't. I just finished that 2 days ago. And then today I finished part 1 of 2, A Court of Thorns and Roses, the dramatized audiobook. But again, I started that last month and it's taken me a long time to finish that. I think when I finished it today, I only had like 35 minutes left. So I'll give those updates in the January wrap-up, though. So, currently, I am reading House of Sky and Breath, and I am reading it on my Kindle, because this is a thickums. It's a little heavy to hold. But, I did start this. I put this off until this month so that I could read it right before, is it House of Flame and Shadow? House of Flame and Shadow. Yes, House of Flame and Shadow comes out the 31st of this month, so I wanted to start this one now so that I could finish it before that one comes out. And I'm glad that I didn't read this sooner. House of Earth and Blood. I read that one earlier this year, and I forgot a lot of what had happened. I had to look up a synopsis or like a recap online to read because I forgot most of what had happened. But I did just start this one, so that one's already part of this month's TBR. The rest of them we're going to be picking from the TBR jar. A fairy tale retelling. For like the 6th month in a row, I'm going to put For the Wolf by Hannah Winton on here. And I'm pretty sure this is like a Little Red Riding retelling, even if it's just loosely. I'm picking it because I need to finally get to this. If I put this on my TBR one more month, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm making myself read that this month. Okay, well, my hand held this one the whole time, so this is one we're going with. A dark romance book. I looked it up, and I found that Promises and Pomegranate by Savar Miller is considered a dark romance, so we're gonna go with this. This is also like a Hades and Persephone retelling, but I believe it's modern day. So that's what we're gonna go with for a dark romance. A book that has been on your TBR the longest. I'm gonna go with When Stars Come Out by Scarlett St. Clair. This is, I think, the Bookish box, one of their special editions that I had pre-ordered. And I mean, come on, like that hardcover with the gold foiling looks so good. And the reversible dust jacket art. Yeah, this one was a Bookish box. I think this might be one of the first special edition books I ever got with like sprayed edges. So we're gonna go with this one because I think this might be one of the oldest. There's like a couple other ones, but one of them's like Book of Night by Holly Black, and I just can't bring myself to do that. So I got that right around the same time. So I'm not gonna get nitpicky and literally pick the oldest one, because then I'd have to go back and look, and that's just too much work. A book with a black cover. Well, that's not hard because that's half of my TBR. I'm gonna go with Glint by Raven Kennedy. This is the second in the Gilded Prisoner series. Or the Plated Prisoner series. I know it's not like a full black cover, but it's got a lot of black detailing on it, so I'm gonna make my own rules, and that's gonna count. Because I really want to continue that series, because I keep seeing people talk about whatever, if it was, I don't know if it was the 5th or the 6th book that just came out, but I want to keep going on that bandwagon. So we're going to go with Glint, and that's on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm just going to read that on there. A Book Talk viral book. That's, again, not really hard. Ooh. Book Talk viral book. I'm going to... Okay. I'm going to go with Powerless by Lauren Roberts, because I want to see what all the hype is about, because I keep seeing this everywhere. I gotta know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go with one more. Book with a purple cover. I don't know if I have any more purple covers that I haven't read yet. I lied. I do have one. I'm going to go with Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. Again, I saw this all over the place, and I really want to get to this because I pre-ordered this and still have not read it. Purple cover goes this one. So our final January TBR is finishing House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. A fairy tale retelling is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. A dark romance book is going to be Promises and Pomegranates by Savar Miller. Book that's been on my TBR the longest is going to be When Stars Come Out by Scarlett St. Clair. A book with a black cover is going to be Glint by Raven Kennedy, which is the second book in the Plated Prisoner series. A Book Talk viral book is going to be Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And a book with a purple cover is going to be Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. So I'm pretty happy with this month's TBR. Actually, before we wrap this up, I want to go over what my December TBR was and if I read them or not. I did better than I normally do, if we're being honest. So my December TBR was Faking Christmas, which I did read. Holiday Romance, I read. Snowed In, I read. Then it was The Plight Before Christmas, I did not read. For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, I did not read, and it's getting put on this month's TBR again. I'm pretty sure this is like my 3rd or 4th month doing that. Next was Finale by Stephanie Garber. I did read that. Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I did not, and that's going on this month's TBR. Queen of Myth and Monsters. That one's by Scarlett St. Clair. That one's the second book in the Adrienne Isolde series, which I read the last one 2 months ago, and I enjoyed it. I am interested to get to her other book, When Stars Come Out, because this, well, not this one, but The King of Battle and Blood was the first one by Scarlett St. Clair I've ever read, but so that one I did not read. My final one was An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. Again, I didn't get to it. So we did better than normal. I read 4 out of the 9, which I did read 9 books. It's just only 4 of them were for my TBR. And so again, this month, and we have 7 books on our TBR. I already started one of them, so that's some progress. I don't think there's been a single month that I've ever actually finished my whole TBR. I usually end up reading anything but my TBR, so that is all that I have for you today. Let me know down in the comments how many of you have already read House of Sky and Breath, or how many of you are currently reading this for the release of Flame and Shadow coming out. I'm curious to know how many people waited last minute like me to read it for the first time, or are you doing rereads? But yeah, I'm excited for that. One of my most anticipated reads this year. I'm excited. I can't wait. But thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, make sure to leave a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to keep up to date with all my future content. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!